guys, thanks for watching. Today's video is going to be all about my favorite makeup brushes. So brushes that I think are must-haves, brushes I use all the time, as well as what I use them for. I have a variety of brushes, both high-end and more affordable or drugstore brands, so I did want to include both. That way you have some options. So I'm going to start off with face brushes. Firstly, foundation brushes. I am not always a foundation brush fan. Because my skin is so dry and so textured, I find a brush doesn't always give me the smoothest or nicest application. With very textured skin, you have to be careful to avoid excessive buffing or circular motions, because that will cause micro exfoliation on the surface of your skin, which will basically make your flakiness and dry patches look worse. I've tried my fair share of foundation brushes, both on my own as well as working in cosmetics and working as a makeup artist, and there are a couple that I do definitely love. These here are my three favorite foundation brushes. First and foremost, this was one of my first ever favorite foundation brushes, and this is the Cover FX Liquid Foundation Brush. So it is a relatively dense, smaller flat top brush, and as soon as I used it on a client for the very first time, I fell in love. Bristles are incredibly soft to the touch, and also Cover FX did include a little bit of an antibacterial technology to it to help prevent bacteria from growing inside the bristles. It also helps build up coverage without needing excess product. But this is a brush that I have in my belt pretty much all the time. Next is the Liz Wautier Perfecting Foundation Brush. So this brush launched with their, I believe it's the Teint Lumiere foundation. So this brush is much taller. It's also a little bit fluffier, but you still have the stippling style top. In comparison to the Cover FX brush, you can see this one is much thicker and much fluffier. This brush is beautiful to use with a very watery foundation or a lightweight foundation. It buffs the product into the skin really nicely. So the way that Liz Wautier recommended to use this brush, especially with their foundation, is by dropping the product right onto the brush and then applying it to the skin. It does work well, but to be honest, I find that method a little bit wasteful. I prefer to apply the product to the back of my hand or dab it on with my fingers and then lightly blend it out. Last but not least for foundation, my absolute favorite right now, which was actually recommended to me by my best friend Claudia. This is the MAC 130 brush. And I'll admit I was very skeptical because I did not think I would like a brush type like this. This is a duo fiber stippling brush. This is what I have been using pretty much every single day for applying my foundation right before I blend it out with a sponge. On no makeup days or very light makeup days, I will take a very light amount of the MAC Face and Body or the Estee Lauder Double Wear To Go, and using this, I will apply it very lightly to my skin. This is a very multi-purpose brush. You can use this for concealer, you can use it for foundation. A lot of people will use it for a cream blush. This has been the one I reach for the most right now. Another brush that I have been absolutely loving is the Tarte Perfecting Airbrush Foundation Brush. I can't remember the name, but I will include it right below. This was included in their Stroke of Midnight holiday collection. I know that collection was limited and it did sell out, but they sell pretty much this exact brush in their permanent range. This is commonly used as a foundation brush, but I actually really like it for powder, especially for lightly setting my cheeks before I go in with blush, bronzer, or whatever. It's very soft, very dense, but still very fluffy, so you have a ton of bristles in there, which help give you a really soft, natural application. If you're using it for foundation, it's really great for doing your foundation very quickly, simply because it's so large it covers a wider surface area at once. But how I like to use it is to take a little bit of a setting powder, just take a tiny amount on this brush and just press it into my cheeks. I don't like to set my entire face just because I'm typically so dry, but I do find that setting my foundation around my cheek area here with powder helps my application of blush, bronzer, and contour to go over much more smoothly. Another brush that I like to use for a similar purpose is the Cargo Wonder brush. I did actually do some training with Cargo and I was introduced to this brush, which is amazing. This is a brush that I think pretty much everyone should have in their collection simply because it is so multi-purpose. This brush is dense and fluffy at the same time. It's a little bit more rounded and it can be used for cream, liquid, or powder. So you can use this to apply your foundation, you can use this to apply concealer, use this to blend out contour, you can use it for blush. When I was training with them, the makeup artist used pretty much just this one brush for all of the products she applied to my face. So Cargo says you can use this for foundation, you can use it for concealer, powder, blush, whatever you want. If I'm having a breakout or a bad skin day, I will apply a little bit of a powder right over top of concealer and push this in. And it really helps camouflage the spot or problem area, but it also helps really set that area to help it last all day long. Brush that I have been obsessed with recently is the Real Techniques number 300 brush. But this brush is perfect for setting your under eyes. It's small and rounded and incredibly soft. So if you do have dry under eyes like I do and you want something that'll apply a very lightweight amount of powder to set your concealer, this one is perfect. My one complaint though is that for a drugstore or more affordable brand, these are very expensive. This one brush was like $30, which compared to their usual $10 range is quite a jump. But I do think the quality is amazing, so I can justify it. Two drugstore brushes that are a little bit more affordable, however. One is the powder brush, also from Real Techniques. This is a pretty standard, big, fluffy powder brush. I love to use this to apply bronzer. Because I'm so fair, I do have to be careful with bronzer. It's definitely easy to go overboard and look like a Cheeto. Because this is so big and fluffy, it applies a very natural amount of bronzer. It's great for adding some warmth and flush to the skin. I also like to use this to bring down my neck, if maybe my foundation's a little bit darker than my body, for example. My favorite blush brush of all time is the Real Techniques blush brush, but this was sent to me by a friend and it was the first Real Techniques brush I'd ever tried. This is what sparked my love for Real Techniques. This is such a uniquely shaped blush brush, and yet it's one that I think every brand should have. It's fluffy yet domed, so it allows you to apply a very natural yet precise blush application. This is perfect for helping to apply it right to the cheekbones and to the apples of the cheeks. A newer brush that I picked up recently and have fallen in love with is the very popular MAC 135 brush. So I believe both Desi Perkins and Jaclyn Hill have mentioned this brush. When I saw Desi use it for bronzer, I was like, I need that. I will take one, please. So the 135 brush is fluffy yet relatively flat. You can see it's not too wide and it's very soft. So this is great for popping bronzer on your temples, along your cheeks. It's also really amazing for applying a more natural contour. When I'm applying bronzer, I will actually take this more on its edge and go like this. You can also use this for blush. Probably even use it for a highlight. Very multi-purpose brush, definitely one that I think is a must-have. For contour, my absolute favorite contour brush at the moment is the MAC 161 brush. This launched with the Haute Dogs collection, which I'll link below. And at the time it was limited, but I believe there were rumors that it was going to be launched permanently. I really hope so because it is such a unique and perfect brush. I was a little skeptical when I first picked it up just because it is round and fluffy, yet it has that curved edge. But this is absolutely perfect for applying a very easy sculpted contour. So it hugs the natural curve of your cheek. So the pointier edge is really nice to extend your contour down or blend it up towards your ear. This is a great contour brush for beginners because it pretty much does all the work for you. My favorite brush for applying highlighter though is definitely the Liz Wautier multifunction powder brush. This is a huge, obnoxiously large fan brush, and this launched with their Aurora winter collection. I believe that was 2014? Is that 2014? Yes. 2014. But this brush was supposed to be perfect for picking up your highlight and depositing it to the cheek area. And it definitely is. This applies your highlight to the cheekbones perfectly. So when I'm applying my highlight, I will dip usually just one corner area of the brush into the highlight powder and pop it right along here. But it's really high quality. The bristles do not shed. It's just phenomenal. Moving on to eye brushes, my first and probably absolute favorite is definitely the Sigma E35 tapered blending brush. This is a long, fluffy brush that's perfect for blending your crease color or transition shade. This is the one brush that I will use pretty much every single day, no matter what kind of eye look I'm doing. For a no makeup or very light makeup day, I will take a very sheer neutral brown and just buff that into my crease below my brow bone, just to kind of add some definition. It is so soft and I honestly wish I had like 20 more of these brushes because I constantly have to clean it because I'm using it every single day. Also for blending, of course, I have to mention the MAC 217. This is a very, very popular brush and probably one of MAC's best selling. This is a fluffy blending brush that is definitely shorter and more flat, than the previous Sigma brush that I mentioned. This is really great for applying color all over the lid, or what I like to use it for blending a darker shade or like definition shade into my outer crease or outer lid area. It's also great if you were a little bit too heavy-handed with your eyeshadow, just to soften and blend it out. Very multi-purpose brush, and definitely an investment that is 100% worth it for your brush collection. Also, for that kind of outer blending category, this is a brush I actually just got. This is the Morphe M507 brush. I decided to purchase this brush simply because it is so small and precise. It's fluffy but very tapered and pointed. This brush is perfect for achieving a cut crease or very sharp defined outer corner. So I use this on my eyes to add a little bit of darkness and dimension right to that crease area. This is such a fantastic brush to have if you want to do a little bit more intense, bold, or creative makeup looks. Last but not least, this is one of my favorite brushes simply because it's so unique. This is the Stila number 36 brush. So this brush is double-sided, and again, I was introduced to this at work. Usually the common style of applicator for a gel liner would be a brush that comes with a very thin point, or like an angled brow brush. Those are great and most people do like them. Issue that I find is that eyeliner product gets caught in the bristles, which then causes them to kind of splay out or get thick. And there's nothing worse than trying to do a really sharp cat eye and having one bristle apply liner where you don't want it to. So frustrating. So when I saw this brush, which launched with their Magnificent Metals eyeshadows and liners, this brush is rubber. So it does not have any bristles. It's a solid rubber. The one end comes with a very thin pointed tip. The other end is a flat slanted tip. This is pretty much life-changing if you do like gel liner. It can be a little tricky to get the hang of at first just because typically we're so used to the different style brushes, but once you get the hang of this, the way that I like to use this is by applying the gel liner to my lash line with the flat tip first, and I'll smudge it and I'll just apply it as close to my lash line as possible. Then I'll switch to the thinner pointed end and I'll use that to create my wing. But yes, if you struggle with gel liner, I highly recommend trying this brush. Also so surprised that more companies haven't caught on that this is a great idea. So that is pretty much it for this brush video. As always, I will list all the products that I mentioned, as well as what is on my face in a blog post down below. Also, make sure that you are following me on Facebook and Instagram because I am doing a ton of giveaways coming up in the next couple of months. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.